Good morning, Ladon, and good morning, Bahamas. We're here on Bahamas Games Boulevard by GHS. Now, as you can see from our drone cam, it's not very busy right now, but as we get into the morning, we know that this area is usually one more frequented by motorists and pedestrians. Today I have with me Sergeant Johnson. Good morning.
Pleasant good morning to you, and a pleasant good morning, Bahamas.
Okay, so we know, as I said before, we know that this area is very busy, especially with pedestrians. Now, I noticed that on this, in this area, we have a bus lane for the school. How does that help with the flow of traffic?
Well, when I think about this area, like you said before, this is a high pedestrian traffic area, as well as an area that motorists use often to get to their locations. So when I'm thinking about this area and kids crossing the streets, we think about the fact that there are people who use the public service chitney systems to get to and from where they need to go. So we have a lane that is designated for bus drivers as well as motorists who usually traverse this area. What that helps with is that when the kids are come to school, they hear and they can ride straight to the school's basically gate. Understand, they can get off from there and they can go right into the schoolyard. This helps to increase safety of our kids. Whenever you have school zones, we know that you're supposed to decrease your speed. It's usually 15 miles per hour at that set time. I think we go from 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. and then again from 2:45 to 4 p.m. All of this is to ensure the safety of our kids while in these school zones.
Okay, and for there are also students around the area, but there are other pedestrians. There are workers and other people in the area as well. So why is it important for drivers to pay attention to all of these people, especially on a highway?
Yes, well, you know, for example, we have a school just behind us, and that is a primary school, and we have a lot of the kids who live in the area that is south of that highway. In regards to that, you're going to have these individuals that are going to be crossing the highway, and sometimes we have our smaller kids. Sometimes you can't even see them as they cross the street below your hood and below your vehicle. So you want to keep an eye out, and that's where speed and distracted driving, this is things that we want to discourage while you're in these areas. Please, it's very important for you to pay attention when you're in the school zones. We want to protect our little darlings. We want to at all costs.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so sometimes we know that there's something called road rage that many drivers have, and pedestrians may sometimes agitate drivers. Is there any fine or penalties for a driver rowing out or shouting or threatening a pedestrian?
Okay, I can't say there's a fine for that, but what I could say is this. Usually when a driver has that road rage, it's because we have, I know you see with those little pockets of kids come out in these big herds and they cross the street without looking or without utilizing the pedestrian crossing. So we have some of those persons who agitate drivers while they're driving. However, there's not a fine for them. The driver is responsible to adhere to the road traffic rules and to yield to the pedestrian to allow them to cross. So unfortunately, you have to allow them to cross. So you're going to have some words being said from individuals. However, still yield to those persons. You don't want to be knocking down those persons because that's going to be a big deal for you as a driver. We're going to enforce the penalties on you.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so with more on driving, could you give us an overview of what would have happened last night pertaining to traffic?
But last night we had 18 accidents involving damages, 4 accidents involving minor injury, and 2 hit-and-run accidents. During that time, we also had a vehicle that collided into a police vehicle that was blowing siren and lights. So I just want to reiterate the fact that when you have emergency vehicles, such as the police vehicles and the ambulance services, if you see these vehicles or you hear them coming, you are to pull to the side of the street. Whichever is the closest side of the street for you, you are to get to that side of the street and take your vehicle off of the road as much as possible to allow these vehicles to go where they're going. You do not want it to be your family member or somebody who knows you, who's calling for assistance and they can't get the assistance that they require. So as much as possible, yes, sometimes it's annoying, yes, sometimes it's inconvenient, but at the same time, we have to lend as much road assistance to these emergency vehicles to get to go where they're headed.
Okay, and also talking about the nighttime and talking about pedestrians, what advice would you have for people walking in the roads and for motorists in the nighttime?
Well, even during this time of the year, we're going to have some walkathons. So I'm thinking about in the morning time and as well as in the evening time. I'm again reiterating the fact that pedestrians and motorists owe a duty of care to each other. Remember now, if I'm coming out early, I'm going to put on my light colors. I have on my light colors now because I know I'm getting up early in the morning to come and traverse the streets. Okay, so I'm urging pedestrians as much as possible, even if you don't have a light colored something to buy probably or tie something around your hand, have something light in your possession so someone can see you. Drivers usually can't see you if the road is not properly lit until they get in your close proximity. So all of this is you need to take into consideration. The other day we brought up the whole idea about a blind spot. Blind spots, they do exist for drivers. So these are things that we need to take into consideration. So yes, motorists and pedestrians, you owe a duty of care to each other so we can get to where we're going safely.
Now, as for people catching rides and picking up people, is there any penalty for that? For people slowing down to pick up people in the middle of traffic?
We call that hindering, obstructing, or impeding the flow of traffic. So if you have to do so, just pull to the side of the street safely and allow that person to come along with you. That's a good gesture. We want to encourage it, but pull to the side of the street.
Okay. Now that's all the time we have for traffic this morning. Thank you, Sergeant Johnson. Back to you in the studio, LaDawn.